to this computer. Should I introduce you as the host? Well, how would you like to be introduced? Is it the host of Fitpros Connect, or is there a particular?
Um, Let me see. There is a bio at the top of that you could use at the top of that sheet. So what it says, I'm the founder and president of Fitpros Connect.
Oh yeah, well,
Fitpros Connect
I'll
is my
use that because
private
I'll
Facebook
record a
group.
separate intro. It's more like,
Okay.
how would you like me to introduce you? I'm just going to go, welcome Kelly to the show, and then it's just basically like, how would you like to be introduced? Just in the quick intro that I do when we start talking. I'll do a proper one. I'll
Just say
record it
I'm the
separate.
host of the Fitpro show on
Fit Pro
Facebook.
Show. Cool. Okay, sweet. So we are recording. So just so my editor knows where to start it from. Okay, so welcome Kelly to the podcast. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
And where are you dialing in from? So tell us. I'm in New Zealand, still on my extended sojourn. Where are you calling in from today?
Columbia, South Carolina.
South Carolina. So what time is it for you?
Right now it is 4 o'clock.
4
4
p.m.
o'clock in the
on
afternoon.
Thursday.
4 o'clock on Wednesday.
Well, Wednesday. Oh my, yeah, it's Thursday for me. Sorry. Tell you what, being in different time zones is really, really stressing me out. I have not managed to get it, and I've been here for almost 3 months. Right. So, Kelly, you are host of the Fitpro Show on Facebook. You have a group of thousands of super highly engaged instructors, and you're also a business advisor to Fitpros, which is one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on the show today. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing, and then I know we're going to delve into some really useful tips for fitness instructors on what they need to know when building their business.
Thank you. Yes. So I have Fit Pros Connect hosted by Kelly Coulter on Facebook. And that is a group that I've had for about 12 years since Facebook first started doing groups. And it's the largest group of vetted fitness instructors and personal trainers on Facebook. And I say vetted because there are larger groups, but we actually go in and make sure that everybody that comes in is a fitness instructor. It's a private group, meaning that when you post in the group, your clients or people outside the group are not going to be able to see the things that we talk about. And I think that that's really important. It makes it
Right. So
a
people can be
special kind of
open and
community.
trusting with the question they're asking, and not afraid that they're
Yes.
not lacking knowledge in a certain aspect isn't going to be known by their class goers.
Yes, 100%. That's exactly why I did it.
Yeah. And so that was really early on. So I know that there's loads of big Facebook groups, but you've had yours for a long time. What motivated you to make it sort of early on in the days of everybody adopting Facebook?
Well, so I've been a fitness instructor since 1994,
Hmm.
and I've been creating websites since 1999, which is when I graduated college. And I I had not stopped doing websites, but at one point I had kind of gone out on my own, and I was creating a company to train instructors, and I thought that's what I wanted to do with my career. So I was kind of leaving the website stuff behind and doing that. And so I created the group as a way for us to all share choreography and share information. And then I've just kind of gone back and forth. The website career, unfortunately, as many of us have found, was more lucrative. And as websites got bigger and as my career went on, I was leading big teams of website developers and doing these huge projects. So I couldn't completely leave that behind. But I always had the Facebook group, and I was basically just acting as the admin, letting people in, vetting them, making sure they were instructors, and then making sure that people weren't selling too much.
Hmm.
And then when COVID happened, I was running my own agency. I had bootstrapped this agency over the last 6 years, and I just made a complete pivot. I just said, I need to start going online and telling instructors how to restart their income. And so
Mm.
started the Fit Pro show in March of last year. And it was really just a response to make sure that people could get online and start to create income again. And then from that came the boot camp, which I do the Sell Out Your Online Workout boot camp.
Hmm.
And then I've got a virtual studio business accelerator, which is my 12-month business building program for instructors and personal trainers, because so many of us found ourselves in the position of only having experience of being an employee, and now we need to know how to
Right.
be an online
Yeah,
fitness
which is
entrepreneur.
it's a hard thing for instructors to do, right? Especially instructors. Like, so I think of instructors as there were people that were teaching in the community and there were people that were doing their own thing, but that required a level of confidence and of also willing to, risk a lot of stuff. And a lot of instructors were very happy to just sit and be comfortable in their career, whether they were doing it full time or a hobby, but teaching classes at their gym with people that the gym provided to them and equipment that the gym provided to them and systems and timetables and schedules that were provided by the gym. And we were just thrown into disarray, which is something that we've talked about so many times on this podcast with other guests. What I'm really excited about talking to you about is that your focus is on ensuring that fitness instructors are doing the most important thing to keep going, which is generating revenue. And I think that we skirt around the issue a lot and we talk a lot about, building confidence and what you should use, but we often don't talk about the fact that in order to keep going, you need to be making money. So this is where I'm going to hand it over to you because I know you've got some tips for our listeners.
Thank you. Yes, that's so true. And we'll talk. I've got 3 tips that cover kind of the biggest business building mistakes that fit pros make as they come into the business, and they are really all focused around creating the minimally viable product
Mhm.
so that you can start generating revenue and then iterate on the business building piece and create a business that is sustainable and automated over time. But in the meantime, you're making money now so that you can stay in business and serve your
Yeah,
clients.
exactly. And iteration is something that we talk about a lot in tech and in the product building industry, and also in anything where you're creating a product, right? And so, for anyone that hasn't come across that term before, that just means getting something out the door, minimum viable product, as Kelly said. So, just starting a product and then gradually improving it over time, learning from what you've put out and the feedback that you get, and gradually making changes rather than wanting something to be perfect and fully formed when you launch it.
Yes, yes. And I'll talk more about it in tip number 2 as well.
Sweet. Okay, so let's just jump into it. What's the number one tip? Tell me.
So, the number 1 tip I like to call pretty womaning your audience. So I do these 3 tips. I do these 3 tips as 90s movie references, which may
Okay.
date me a little bit, but I already told you I've been an instructor for
Yeah, yeah,
26
yeah, yeah,
years,
yeah.
so
You
I'm
aged
old.
yourself there, so we're good. We're good. We can link to all of these movies in the show notes for any Zennials that are listening to the podcast.
Yes, I've actually got little clips for each of them in the notes
Perfect.
that will illustrate my point. And so
Excellent.
the clip for this one is when Julia Roberts, who was a huge 90s movie star, beautiful long red hair, and she is a sex worker in this movie. And um, Richard Gere picks her up, of course, innocently because, he has a car problem.
Hmm.
And anyways, she's going to stay the week with him. And so she needs clothes because
Yep.
he's a bajillionaire.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so she goes to the store in her sex worker clothes, and he's at work, and she's got his credit card, and she's going to buy clothes. And the shop girls just shame her and kick
On
her
Roadrunner,
out, and she
right?
can't buy clothes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know the scene. I know this scene well. This is iconic.
Yes, if you search YouTube for big mistake huge, then
Yeah,
it'll come up.
exactly.
So she goes back to the hotel and ends up the concierge helps her go get outfits. And then she is walking down Rodeo Drive in the next scene and she's got the bags on her arm and she's feeling good. And they're playing Pretty Woman
Hmm.
walking down the street. And she walks into that shop. She's got her hat on and her makeup done. And she says to the shop girl, you were working yesterday, correct? And the shop girl says, yeah. And I don't think she recognized her at that time. And Julia Roberts says, you work on commission, right? And the shop girl says, yes. And she says, big mistake, huge, huge mistake, and just flips,
Yeah.
I've got to go shopping, and walks out. So that's the pretty woman. So many times we pretty woman our audience as new fitness instructors and personal trainers going online. We have no idea how to ask for money and we get all in our heads about the price. So we're freaking out. We're saying, what does the gym charge? What does the instructor next door charge? What do you think they would pay? What do you think they would pay?
Yeah, it's a mess.
And
We
we,
get asked that all the time. It's so, especially in the last year when people have gone online and had to create their own costs or their own
Mhm.
pricing for the very first time, right? They've just never got any experience or had any past experiences creating that benchmark for what they value themselves as.
Yes, exactly. 100%. And then we take it a step further and we say, well, it's a pandemic. They don't have money. So
Mm.
then we're already assuming that that they can't pay. So, which is rude, right? Don't put your hands in other people's wallets and determine what they can pay and what they can't. But so there are a couple problems with that. The first is that you're disempowering your audience. The fact is that if someone is coming into a fitness journey, I'm going to divert a little bit and
Yep,
say
go ahead.
this: we are not competing for the audience that is already working out. Because if they are already working out and they are super into working out and they've got a good habit already, they're probably on Peloton, Beachbody, Les Mills on Demand.
Hmm.
We, for the most part, are all looking at the audiences that have been ignored and disenfranchised by the traditional fitness industry model. And what
Totally
that
agree.
means is that we are competing for the 80% of the population that doesn't have a good habit in place already, that needs access to you and needs your personal touch and your encouragement.
Hmm.
So, with that being said, they need to be able to place a value on the offer that you're putting out there in order to get themselves mentally committed and get into the game.
Right. This is
And
a
when
standard
you don't,
marketing tactic, right? That if you give something away for free, people won't value it.
so true. And the value of free on the internet these days is
Mm.
it's nothing
Yep.
because everything is free.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The fact is, they could go on YouTube and do yoga with Adrian
Yep.
or Cassandra or whoever all day long. They are coming to you because you have that extra level of personal touch. You have
Hmm.
that level of accountability, all of those things. So don't disempower them by not charging them. Let them place a value on what you have to offer.
Hmm.
So
And
that's number one. Number two is that a lot of us, me including, I grew up with not a whole lot of money, four brothers and sisters, middle class family in Ohio. Don't project your negative money stories onto your clients. So a lot of us are assuming because it's a pandemic or
mhm.
because we have never gotten paid a lot as fitness instructors that these people don't have money to pay. And that's a huge mistake, huge. And then the third point I want to make about that is if you aren't going to sell this offer to somebody who is ready to make a transformation in their life, ready to make a change, ready to really start working out and making it happen, if you're not going to sell it to them, they're going to turn around and buy it from someone else. So it's just like if you were to go into CVS or go into the shop on Rodeo Drive and they won't sell you a dress, that person is going to turn around and go buy it from someone else who probably has an inferior product.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
get
if people are in the market to be purchasing fitness and you're not making an offer towards them that they can take, then they are probably going to take their cash elsewhere, right?
absolutely 100%.
And how do
I
you
did a
so
whole talk. Go ahead.
I said, how do you deal? So, you're an instructor and you take that advice on board, but then you still don't know where your price point should be. What would you advise to one of the people that you work with about figuring out what that value is? So they're on board. They understand that they need to be charging the right price, and they
Mhm.
need to value themselves. They need to appreciate that. They need to value their customer as well, and the importance of making a commitment. But they're like, I don't know
Mhm.
what the value should be. What's the advice there?
So I've got a few methods that I use to help figure that out. And we actually do this live online in the boot camp. A lot of
Hmm.
times I'll bring people on and I'll do live laser coaching. And we've got this spreadsheet and we'll plug some numbers in. We'll look at what were you making at the club? How many people do you expect to bring into this offer? How many times are you going to be teaching a week? And you can divide all that out and kind of extrapolate what you can charge. And that's one way to do it.
Hmm.
But the method that I like better is what I like to call the puke test.
Okay, tell
And
me about this. I like the name already.
the puke test is very simple. If you quote your price and you don't feel like you're about to puke on your shoes for the first time, then you probably have gone too low. We really need to
I
be
have never heard
placing a
that before.
value on these things.
Right. And it's something that's really difficult to do, right? This is something that we've talked about on the podcast, and I've sort of shared my own experience here. So I've obviously created a fitness format, and one of the things I really wanted to do was to make it really cost effective. And so we have priced it at a price that I know is sort of beating in terms of the content that we give out. Um, and I know that it's valuable, but I still sometimes feel bad about the concept of charging for stuff that has cost me a lot of money to create and produce, because it just feels a bit icky to ask people for money if you haven't done it before and if you're starting out. And it's something that like, if you're a natural born salesperson, you don't have a problem, but a lot of instructors are not salespeople. That's why they're in a different industry.
Absolutely. We are not salespeople, but you know what feels really, really good and what gets highly addictive is actually being able to charge money and see it come into your bank account and be able to spend
Yeah. I don't think you're going to get anybody disagreeing with you on that front.
it. Yeah, it's a matter of practice and doing it, and it takes some time, it takes some practice, but the first time you really do onboard a group of clients and you serve them, because because you are an instructor, that you are here to serve, you are here to help, you're going to love these people and you're going to help them make positive changes in their lives. So the first time you do onboard a group of people at a reasonable, respectable price,
Hmm.
and then you serve them and love them. And then the next time even the first time, so the first month feels amazing. Second month, when that rolls around because they're now on a monthly subscription, feels even more amazing because you didn't have to work to get them in the door.
Mm.
You're just doing the
Yeah,
work to
that's
serve
a big
them.
takeaway, right? Is that all of these decisions and actions that you have to take are the most painful the first time. And that can lead
Yes.
people to procrastinate and put them off. But the sooner you take it, the sooner it will be over, like ripping off that band-aid, and then you can just get on with it.
100%.
Okay,
Absolutely.
cool. So that's pretty womaning. Tell me, what's number two on your three biggest mistakes that people make when taking their business
Ah,
on?
so the number two is the full Monty. We full
Hmm.
Monty ourselves.
Should we give a brief
No,
description of
Will.
the movie?
Yeah, are you too young to know this
No, no,
one?
no, no. I know the full Monty.
So I'm going to butcher it, so you can correct me on the
Yeah, feel
locations.
free.
But it's a takes place in a town in the UK.
Yep, it does. I don't know what town though. I've forgotten which town it is.
So I bet it's in the little clip. It might be in the little clip, but
I'm gonna look it up right now. So you talk about the movie, and I'm gonna Google quickly where the full Monty is set, and then we can.
all right. So it's like an iron town. The guys have lost their jobs. They're all feeling super disenfranchised and awful. And they see all the women leaving for a girls' night, and they're going to go to a like a male review. Wow, these are really seedy movies that I keep talking about, or making them sound seedy at least. But so they're going to go to a male review, and the guys get this idea like, wait a minute, they're going to go spend all this money that we need
Mhm.
on going on a fun male review night. We should do a male review. And these are just regular kind of towny guys. So they start putting up posters, they start practicing their dances, and the hero of the movie is kind of a chubbier, stouter guy. Somewhere along the line, the idea gets put out there that not only are they going to do this male review, but that they are going to go full Monty. They are going to take off all of their clothes. And so the movie progresses, and it's kind of that classic hero's journey. The main character becomes more confident. He doesn't like get all buff or lose weight or anything, but he goes full Monty at the end of the
Mhm.
movie. And so, did you figure out
1980
what town it
Sheffield, by
is?
the way. Sheffield, steel town, north of England, in the 80s. So that sets the scene for anybody that knows. So tell us, how does that
Thank
relate to? Tell me about how that relates to what fitness instructors need to learn.
you. So
I'm very
we,
curious.
yes, I'm going to make you wait till the end of the podcast. We think that we have to go full Monty before we can put an offer out there.
Hmm.
We think that we have to have the brand, have the wardrobe, have the website, have the color scheme, have all the messaging, have a full like 90 days of social media posts all queued up and ready to go, right?
Hmm.
So we think that we have to hire a web designer, and we have to hire a graphic designer, and we have to spend weeks on messaging.
Yep.
And the fact is that that is just not the case.
Right. Yeah,
The
and we've
website
talked
is a
about this
nice to
too,
have.
right? Like you don't need like there are sort of belt and braces, gold-plated options out there, but you simply don't need them. You can get started on social media super easily.
Yes, yes. And in the boot camp, I teach you to go on Facebook Live and start delivering your classes using a paid private group.
Hmm.
And then I
Find a
teach
free
you
platform that
to,
you pay nothing for.
yeah, yeah, completely free. The paid piece means that you only let people in if they have paid you.
Correct.
So we don't, so the first thing is
Hold that
with
thought for
branding, we
two
think that
seconds.
we
Hold
need
on,
to
hold on, hold on,
look,
hold on. Just give me 2 seconds.
okay.
Sorry about that.
Problem.
I was just making sure. So, as I said, I'm sharing a house at the moment. I was just making sure that they weren't about to start making a whole lot of noise.
And
So,
I did not warn my daughter that I'm on something yet, so it's very likely that she could bust into the room too. But
no problem. Okay, so I'm just going to make a quick note that that was at 38-ish minutes into the thing. Cool. Okay, so I can't remember where we were. Do you remember exactly what you were saying?
yeah, so with branding, the full
Perfect.
Monty. So the full Monty with branding means that we think that we have to look like one of the big guys, right?
Right.
We want to have like this super professional logo and this super professional looking website and like this really well-defined color scheme and all of these things. Um, you know, there are two problems with
Hmm.
that. The first problem is that you're a single instructor or personal trainer and you are serving single people. They don't need to think that they are working with a corporation, right?
Right. Yeah,
It's better.
exactly. Yeah. In fact, the part of the reason that they are with you is precisely because you are not that sort of big nameless faceless corporation that potentially has instructors that they don't connect to because they are too perfect or too well produced.
100%. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they relate to you and they're paying for access to you. So
Mm.
be you.
Yeah, it's funny,
As a
isn't it?
matter of
Because it's a real strength of instructors that your class members and your users and the people that are coming to your community, they can probably relate to you. That's why they're there. That's why they're choosing to work out with you. But often instructors can see the fact that they are not like the bigger players as a weakness, whereas it's just not the case. Like you have to sometimes accept that what you might think is a weakness is actually a strength for the purposes of your audience's connection with you.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I can't tell you how many times in my life I've heard, I really appreciate that you're out there putting yourself out there and I can really relate to you because I'm not a super skinny person.
Hmm.
I'm a larger person. I wear a size large and I always have, and people appreciate that. Now, if I looked exactly like, you know, Shailene Johnson or anybody else, I would be
You're like,
attracted
I
to
want to say
Shailene
someone, but I
Johnson.
don't.
I know. I'm thinking Les Mills people, and I know you have a Les Mills history. I'm a huge fan of Les Mills, and I do it every day. So
Yeah, but they do
yeah,
have a particular
no,
look,
no,
right? Like if you're doing Les Mills on demand, then you are seeing like extremely young, usually fit people that have a specific kind of style that some people like, but that a great number of people, and if we think back to that 80%, a great number of people might find intimidating. And that's something that
yes,
as an individual instructor, you can break that intimidation down.
100%. I love the way that you said that. That's perfect. So I heard my phone go off, and I'm going to turn it off so it doesn't go off again.
No problem.
I can find it, or maybe not. I can't locate it.
That's cool. That's cool.
Um, so, but there's another piece of that too. So we full Monty ourselves in terms of like the branding and the marketing collateral.
Hmm.
We also full Monty ourselves in terms of the video production.
Right.
So we think that we have to paint the room. get the wardrobe, have all the lighting, have the big website camera. Past having high quality audio,
Hmm.
it has been shown, and you've had Cal on your show before,
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
know
yeah,
he's talked about this. It has been shown by studies that what really matters to the online fitness consumer is the audio.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So you can get away with having a grainy video, especially in the first few months of your new business where you're collecting up the funds and letting the business pay for the new equipment.
yeah,
So
for
you
sure.
don't have to go into debt to go buy new equipment. You can let the business pay for the new equipment.
Yeah, totally. And then is there anything else on the full Monty before we move on to number three?
You know, my last note that I've got here is what to do instead. Get started serving a paid audience first, and then allow
Right.
the business to make the money to pay for the equipment.
Right, as
I agree.
in don't go fully onto don't do what so many actually bigger companies did. I think like studios and gyms, which is they jumped onto Instagram and gave all this stuff out on Instagram Live for free, and then realized that they couldn't commercialize it, right? And I work, I know that we both work with instructors. I also have a consulting business where I work with gyms and studios, and they to service their customers and make sure that they were still connecting with their customers, they very quickly often did Instagram lives. And I like in London, every big like boutique studio was running Instagram lives, and they have all pivoted away from doing that. Some of them still do it like once a week, but they now all have paid offerings, and those paid offerings are actually quite expensive because they realize that it is not sustainable to give stuff out for free. You have to be generating revenue if you want to continue it. Otherwise, it is a hobby that you are paying for.
You know, and we've all been there because
Mm,
I'm not sure about in the UK or in New Zealand, but in the States, a lot of us have been on a race to the bottom for a long time. The gyms all raced to the bottom in terms of pricing, and
yep.
then with that, instructor pay just stayed the same for the last 20 years. And
I
so
know.
basically
While
as
the
instructors,
prices of
everyone's
houses triple like 3,000% up, your average teaching wage just remains the same.
remains the
Yeah.
same.
It's terrible, isn't it, when you think about the buying power? Like I have been in the industry for 20 years, and obviously I'm at different currencies in New Zealand and the UK. But the 13 years ago when I moved to the UK, I was on a certain amount per class, and in the financial crisis, that got sliced down, and it's only gone down since. And so I think the average like the average payment that an instructor would get for an hour long class is probably 75% of what it was 15 years ago. But
Oh,
inflation is obviously gone up. So really in real terms, you're probably earning 25% of what you're earning, say 10 to 15 years ago. So yeah, it's a difficult place to be in. And we talk about this as a lot as an instructor, but the opportunity that you have now, being able to go digital, connect with your audience directly, is that you can reset that value.
absolutely. I really do believe that 2021 is the year that the individual personal trainer and fitness instructor gets out there, figures out how to either do a hybrid model where they're doing some in a facility and some out on their own, or
Hmm.
they're going out on their own and they're really starting to claim their value and their worth.
Yeah, and we did a podcast episode with Shannon Fable recently where she made a really good point about instructors being the guide and the concierge and the hub that allows them to connect with all these other fitness experiences. Not feeling like you need to be the one-stop shop, not feeling defensive if your client also has a Les Mills on demand membership for,
Yes.
12.99 per month. That can still be something that you integrate with. And so you can be like, great, you're going to come and see me, you're going to do my classes Monday, Wednesday, and you're going to do a body pump on Friday. That's great. Let's make it work for you.
Absolutely. Our role has completely changed. If we want to continue to work in the industry, we've got to pivot. And our role is now more of a coach and a concierge.
For sure. So I feel there's a third movie reference coming up. Let's get into it. What's number three?
Well, and it does not involve nudity or sex
Oh,
workers.
perfect. This one's G-rated.
It is. So the third one is the Karate Kid.
Okay.
So
Very
in the
on point.
Karate
Cobra Kai being one of the biggest Netflix shows of the last few months. So this one has a nice link to the present.
Yes, it sure does. And have you watched Cobra Kai? It is
I have
really
not actually. I
kitschy and
watched the
really,
first couple of episodes, but I couldn't get into it. But I've seen a lot of people posting about it on Facebook.
it's weirdly addictive. I think just seeing Ralph Macchio
Yeah,
grown
yeah,
up
yeah, yeah,
is
for sure.
okay, so in the Karate Kid, if you remember, he spends the movie kind of getting beat up, getting underestimated, getting made fun of, and then at the end, they're in the karate tournament. He's learned all his stuff, and the famous line, the evil instructor says, "Sweep the leg," right? So last scene, very dramatic. Ralph Macchio up in the Swan, and he stomps down on the good leg and kicks the guy in the face with the bad leg and wins the day.
hmm Iconic again.
Yes, great scene, great scene. So, as fitness instructors and personal trainers, we underestimate our value, and it is a huge mistake. So we don't understand what value we bring to the market and we underestimate ourselves. We don't learn, we haven't learned yet how to turn our weaknesses into strengths. So I want to talk about something that you have said in the past, and maybe not in these terms, but I remember listening to one of the episodes of your podcast and just going, yes, yes, yes. It was with Barbara Brodowski.
Yep.
That's the idea that Peloton and Beachbody and Les Mills On Demand are all competing for the same 20%
Yeah,
of
for sure.
the market, and that we have this huge opportunity to serve these underserved populations, and we can serve them more effectively, and we can serve them more efficiently because we are now online. We are not bound by geography. So if you have got a special level of experience in working with people with Parkinson's or working with people with diabetes or um, working with people with a certain injury, you've really got an opportunity to make that into something big and something lucrative for yourself.
Right, niching down
I
into the micro populations and the hyper local community that you can target that these other big providers can't because they are volume based, scale based players.
Yes, and that was something that I heard you say a while back that I really loved, that the only way their business model works is if they are operating at scale. So they
Yeah, and
can't
appealing to everybody
um,
because they need maximum number of eyeballs, so they have to be kind of vanilla in what they provide. And yeah, that's a great opportunity for us individually because we don't have to be that. Like we don't need 100,000 people or 1 million people in order to make the business make sense. We might only need 100, and 100 might be a huge amount of people that come in and out of classes. It might be 20 regular class goers, right? Like it could be any number. And there are
absolutely.
and just understanding how to reach your niche is
Mhm.
yeah something that we've talked about before and is really important to understanding who you're going to be serving.
Yeah. I've got people in the accelerator that are doing a specialized type of exercise, maybe with a few accountability sessions or other things thrown in, and they are charging $100 a month. They've got 20, 30 people. They are now making 5 times what they
Mm,
made at the gym. So, and I like to give the example that a few years ago I had labral tear surgery in my left hip, and that surgery is, you have to be non-weight bearing for 5 weeks, and then you go through physical therapy, and it was the worst. I hate physical therapy. It's
me
so
too.
boring. It was terrible. And I've always said if there was some sort of class or group that I could have joined that would have
hmm
helped me rehab that and had more interesting and fun exercises, something more like a CX works, or
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
where you're
Yeah.
just doing a lot of core and tush, I would have paid anything for that. So imagine as an instructor, if you have got a special area of expertise, or if you have a special area where you could bring people through a transformation,
Right.
help them quit smoking, get them running, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you can really name your price at that point.
Yeah. one
So
hundred percent.
turn your weaknesses into
And
strengths.
we all know this, right? Like we've all seen the excuse me, the fitness instructor who has a baby and then creates a special maternity program, right? And uses the fact that they've just been through this experience. That's an obvious one, but you can iterate that out to any number of niches that you understand. So if it is, it could be working with older populations, it could be coming back from an injury, it could be building up to a marathon. There's all like understanding who you wish to serve and what sort of specific characteristics and community that you can target is really important. And it's something we don't think about enough because we think I need everyone to like me. And it's just not the case.
Niching down is so hard and so scary. And what you hear over and over again, and even what I did before I started saying I'm only working with instructors and personal trainers from now on,
Hmm.
um, is I would say, well, if I only work with them, I'm leaving out all these people. The problem is if you don't only work with these people, you can never craft a marketing message that resonates with any of the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. If you want to
when you're
serve
trying to be
everybody, you
on,
serve no one.
yep, absolutely.
And so I've been obviously reading some of the stuff that you've put out, and you've talked about creating connection and letting go of perfection. So that's kind of the summation of this point, right? Like just get on with it. What would you describe to an instructor who is struggling with this point? Like, do you have any specific strategies or tips?
Let's see. Yes. So I would say create connection, let go of perfection, definitely. The other thing that I would say is have conversations with the people who are following you with you and resonating with you online.
Hmm.
And I can't stress that enough. It's something that's really hard for us to do, but so many times as new business owners, we want to go in and automate all of that marketing because it feels weird. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like maybe we're hassling people.
Yeah.
But if you can instead go really, really deep and start having conversations with the people who are liking your posts and watching your lives, then you can really start to understand them. And that's where your niche can come from.
Right.
Your,
And it's just as much as if someone goes, that was great, just saying, what did you like about it? Like getting like drawing a further level of conversation out of them. And the more you do it and the more you get comfortable with it, the easier it becomes.
100% so true.
Great.
Yeah.
So those are the three key things. We have the Pretty Woman, the Full Monty, and the Karate Kid, and we will obviously link to all of your website, and also link to the Facebook group if people want to be part of if people aren't already part of it and want to be part of a vetted community of fitness professionals, then we'll link to that. And you've also got some training coming up, right? So maybe if you just want to talk about some of the stuff you're doing, and then we can also stick some links to that in the show notes as well.
Thank you. I would love to. So on March 8th, we're going to do the Sell Out Your Online Workout Boot Camp again. That is 5 days of I come on every day. I teach for at least an hour. I have special guests pop in. Maybe we can get like a Will Brereton to pop in. Fitness. Usually Denise and Bessie from Muscle Mixes comes in. We have Cal from on Podio come in, and the goal is to get you teaching your first class online. If you have already been teaching online, then the goal is to get you to make $500 more than you did the week before.
Okay.
So that's really what I strive for my participants. I want you to make at least $500 or $500 more. And
Hmm.
it's the kick in the pants. That's what it's all about, is just getting you going toward creating that product and putting it out there. It's a $37 boot camp. It's not free, but it
Know your
becomes
value.
well putting my money where my mouth is. And I'm
Exactly.
saying, guess what? Free is the F word in the fitness.
You know what? Like I talk to a lot of instructors, and I think that we are all done with free, and looking forward to a time when it's not quite such an important word within the industry. Because as my friend Emma Barry likes to say, your poverty serves no one, and knowing your value is super important. Well, thank you so much,
Amen.
Kelly, for being on the podcast. We will put links to the bootcamp and also the Facebook group in the show notes. It's been great to talk to you. You've taken me down a memory lane of 90s movies. Actually, The Karate Kid was 80s, no?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And by the way, I did not give the URL for the bootcamp, but it's fitprosconnect.com/bootcamp.
Perfect. And we will stick it in the show notes. Kelly, thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Will.